Can you hear us, Sheila?
Yes, I can.
All right. The time is 7 p.m., and I will call this meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Reichel,
Here.
Pro Tem Hanrahan,
Here.
Trustee Brittenall, Trustee Klassen,
Here.
Trustee Flores,
Here.
Trustee Poston,
Here.
Trustee Seifert.
Here.
All right. May we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. The first item on tonight's agenda is public comments. Persons desiring to make a public comment on items not on the agenda, please activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. Or Sheila, any phone calls or emails in regards to non-agenda items?
No, I did not hear from anyone.
Okay.
We only have staff on the Zoom call at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then would we have anybody sign in the chambers with us?
We have two,
Okay,
but they are here both for an agenda item.
for the agenda item? Okay. They're both here for which agenda item?
Not a sanctuary community.
Okay, all right. I guess this is a good time. So this is on the meeting is just an action item. Do we want to go ahead and allow public comment during that agenda item?
I would say yes.
Okay. Are we okay with that? Okay. Then we will go ahead and take public comment during that session, even though it's only an agenda item or an action item. So when we get to that, we'll pull those names off the sign-in list and have you guys come up and speak at that time. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of the March 25th, 2024 Board of Trustees meeting. Number 2, the Arbor Day proclamation recognizing April 19th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the town of Silt. And the approval of the Green Mountain Water Service contract extension for Eagle View subdivision. Would anyone like to discuss any of those separately or make a motion?
I have a
I
quick,
have some questions on number 3.
Okay.
as do I.
Okay.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. And I don't know if anybody's here to answer them. So, I guess the cost, because reading through this, granted this was done in 99, it says it's $10 an acre foot and $250 minimum. So I'm assuming, is that what our cost for this is?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Yep.
And then reading that, this was for municipal and domestic use.
Attorney Sawyer is coming on right now, Trustee
Okay.
Klassen.
And then I guess maybe Joe could answer this. Because in this, it says this 16 acre feet is for domestic and municipal use. So where does the irrigation water come from and how much do we have for Eagles View?
For Eagles View?
Yeah.
Eagles View, I'll have to get back to you on that one, Chris, because as far as I know, Eagle View gets their water from Harvey Gap.
Okay.
And if we're getting more, I'd have to investigate that more.
Okay. All right.
The domestic use under the contract includes irrigation associated with houses.
Okay. Okay. I was just reading through this and it said irrigation 0. Then underneath it, it said municipal, which I guess, yeah, that can be numerous things. But all right. Well, thank you for the clarification. And the cost is $250 a year, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. I was looking at, seeing if Attorney Sawyer was gonna.
Yeah, I don't have the billing amount for the contract, but that sounds about correct.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had.
Okay.
My question's pretty simple. On page 2 of the memo, it says there's additional information that's going to be presented? Or,
Yeah, so we're working with the town's water rights engineer, Michael Arian, to update a study that was done in 2009, looking at the potential, well, looking at the water supply for future growth in Silt and taking into account some modifications that have been made in water court decrees and administration of the town's water rights. But that was not intended to be presented tonight. That's an ongoing project, and we intend to come back to council and provide a public presentation about that.
okay, I'm curious why we're making the decision tonight without that additional information.
Because the Bureau wants an answer if we're going to renew this contract or not.
That's concise. That's all I needed. Thank you, Attorney Sawyer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's just important, no matter what water rights we have, we continue to keep them as part of the water portfolio for the town for future growth.
Exactly.
All right, if there's no further discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by trustee Seifert to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by trustee Clausen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Do any board members have any conflicts of interest with agenda items tonight?
Nope, not needed.
I may.
No, sir.
Okay.
I may have a potential conflict of interest with the 2024 Parks Planning Update. There's a specific item in there about the park at Center Townhomes, and I'm the HOA president. I'm not sure if it's a conflict.
As, I don't think it would be a conflict. If Mike and Attorney Sawyer can chime in, but because we're not making a decision, this is just a work plan update. But it is a recommendation to go to the Parks and Recreation Committee for further discussion. At some point, it would come back, and then that might be a situation where you would need to recuse yourself. But because we're not making a decision on any of the parks this evening, there's no action. I don't think it would be a conflict.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure and be transparent because I was involved in prior discussions about it and
Yep.
will definitely be involved in future. No conflicts here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you have any personal interest or monetary interest in that discussion.
That's probably true.
True, yeah. Okay. Does staff or the board have any agenda changes this evening?
I do not.
Nothing from staff?
Nothing here.
from the board? Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Next up then is the water plant construction update. And I will turn this over to our interim town administrator.
We have representatives from Garney Construction here tonight to give you an update,
Okay.
I hope.
That's you.
Come on up. Yeah.
Nobody jumped up, so I'm like, well, maybe you guys don't want to talk about it.
Great, thank you for having us. Since our groundbreaking just recently, not much has been erected or on site, but we are underway. Health and safety, no safety incidents to date. We do have a handful of contractors that have come through the site, so again, so far so good. Plant staff and visitors are wearing proper PPE, something that we stressed to them and they've responded very well to. At one of our weekly meetings did comment, all but one of the staff has already donned stickers and such on their hard hats. So again, they're taking to it really well, and that's good to see. And then we do have a controlled entry now at the site. Electronics for the gate are out, and we're using a chain and lock for the time being. Moving on to our construction progress, we're doing that because we are working on the 12-inch potable water reroute, and that is from the existing water plant through the front gate. So again, when traffic controls have been in place and good participation from plant staff, which is appreciated. Currently, we're dewatering part of the site for the deep excavation for the backwash tank. Excavating the pipeline as well, and then we've moved some dirt to allow for traffic to come through the site. And all that is progressing very well. A little bit of weather on some Mondays last few weeks, but we've been able to work past that. So our schedule update, we're following CDPHE approval process. We're hoping to get our initial response from them this week, very shortly. Dewberry, the engineer, continues to communicate with them on a regular basis, and everything seems favorable for our initial review. With that, that'll allow us to release some process equipment that we were waiting on. Some of that equipment will affect our startup and potentially our end date. Again, so we're tracking that. Let's see, the next milestone, as we get through the water reroute and the excavation, we'll move into our initial concrete work and form work, and that is slated for the first week in May. Our budget items, the contingency log, which we've talked about before with the group, no significant changes there. Essentially, we're still carrying like 2.7 million in that contingency log between the three pieces, both the project contingency budget, the escalation budget, and our allowances. Again, as CDPHE approval comes through and we don't see any major changes to equipment, that'll help shore up that number that we can start looking other items to possibly spend that on as long as the process equipment doesn't change. And then billing to date. So we're about $500,000 into the project to date. And with that, I can take questions.
Is there a percentage, complete percentage associated with that, 500,000?
Yes, it's under 2%. Again, with mobilization of the site, really just some paperwork, getting the office trailers on site, and then this initial excavation work.
How deep's the initial excavation?
About 14 feet.
Are you bringing dirt in, or is the dirt coming out? I see those trucks moving in and out.
Bringing in a little bit of dirt to accommodate the soft soils. Else, most of it is staying on site, which is part of a budgetary item. Now we're not hauling it all off.
You just spread it out somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. As far as the dirt, are you expecting some really soft when you start doing the deep excavation to get into that? You have to replace, put more other stuff product in.
Yes, we're seeing a little bit of that, some sand and some soft stuff. So we have our geotechnical consultant come out and take a look. And so far, it's just been adding aggregate, a 3-inch minus, which is boulders or rocks 3 inches and smaller, and some other soil mixed into that to get that stuff compacted and able to support a vehicle or heavy weight.
Okay.
I don't have anything else. Sounds good.
For the record, could you introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. Dan Galvin, project manager with Garney Construction. And the last item I have on there is that we'll be back your first meeting, so it's the second Monday, first Monday of next month. The intent is to come back the first meeting of each month for the updates.
Okay. So May 13th.
Yes.
Good.
Is the dewatering that's going on, was that a expected issue to run into?
Yes.
Okay. And is that process going well? I know we're close to the river, excavating 14 feet.
It is going well. It has some of its issues, but for the most part, yes, it's going well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're pleased with the results.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about the update?
Is the 500,000 still in alignment with the budgeted amount? It's for those two items, water pre-route and the deep excavation?
There's other line items in there. Those are the major operations. And yes, it's in line.
Okay.
Guess I got one more thing. Were you able to locate a concrete contractor?
We were able to continue with looking for some additional subcontractors to perform that scope of work with similar lack of success that we've seen with some of the other scopes.
Okay.
So the intent is for Garney to self-perform there.
More detail. We had a bid opening on Friday. We had 5 contractors interested. We got 1 response.
Nice.
Still need a plumber.
Still need a plumber. If I only knew any plumbers, yeah.
Is that a conflict?
That would be a major conflict, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know, subs are gonna be difficult to find probably at this point for anything that's not already planned out. So Garney has that ability to
Yes.
self-perform that work.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No?
No? Okay.
Thanks for the update.
All right, yep, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Dan.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Vail Board interview with Becky Ross. I will turn this over to our administrator.
Actually, we're going to turn this over to Sheila.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
No, not Sheila.
So we have 2 openings right now on the Vail board. So I would enjoy the fact that you can interview Miss Becky Ross. She has quite a bit of experience in the field, I believe, and would be a good candidate. If you do choose to appoint her, I would just ask that the term that she is filling is due to expire in July. I would just ask that you go ahead and continue that to run for the 4-year term plus the couple 3 months. And I will let you take it away with questions for Ms. Ross.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you want to just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
I have lived in Silt for 33 years. 3 years ago, I retired from the state of Colorado Judicial Department. The last 8 years of that, 18 years, I was the clerk of court at the Garfield Associate County Court in Rifle. So I do have a basic understanding of how Vail funds are collected, how they're dispersed. So since I retired, people will ask me, well, what do you do all day? My answer is usually a lot. I do a lot, but I feel like I should be doing something more, and this seemed like maybe it was a good opportunity to do something more.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions?
No?
I do not. Yeah, I read your application, and
Yep, looks good.
Looks
I
good.
don't have any questions. Thank you for applying, by the way.
Yeah, no, like I said, lately I've just really been feeling like I should do something a little more, and doing something in Silt is ideal. So,
I have one quick question.
sure.
Are there any things that you feel the Vail Board can do better, things that you're going to advocate for?
I guess, like I said, I have a basic understanding of, how the funds, my 18 years at the court, I explained a lot of times that those funds are assessed on every single conviction, what they're for, basically. So as far as, I have to admit, I don't know a ton about what the board does, but I'm a fast learner. I'm detail-oriented. I have, I think working with other people to look at the applications, look at the information provided, what people are asking for, I think I would be pretty good at that. But as far as what the board does now, how they do it, I have no idea. Would I hesitate to say that something could be done better once I get in there and roll up my sleeves? No. I would say something if I thought there was a better way.
Okay. And are you okay with being appointed to a 4-year and 3-month term instead of a 3-month term and then having to reapply?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did see on the description that it was a 4-year term, and yes, I'm.
Okay. All right. Any other further discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve Becky Ross to the Vail Board for a term of 4 years and 3 months.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Trustee Seifert, to appoint Becky Ross to the Vail Board for a 4-year and 3-month term, and that was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right.
Congratulations, and thank you for volunteering.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
will wait to hear from Sheila. what I
Yes,
do
Sheila will
next.
reach out to you.
Touch with you tomorrow, Becky.
The next item on the agenda is the town manager selection process, and I will turn this over to our interim administrator.
In fine form, the turnabout is fair play. You have on the call this evening former Administrator Lehman, who is now the Special Projects Coordinator for the town. So we had to come up with an equally obtrusive title for him since he made me the interim town administrator. I will just turn it over to Mr. Lehman for him to walk you through the process that you're going to be faced with in looking at the hiring of a new town manager.
All right.
Well, I can't beat that introduction, Jim. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see everybody again, although I really can't see you from where I'm sitting down here in Arizona tonight. But thank you for having me. I wanted to just kind of run through the process a little bit. I understand that you have in front of you a 3-ring binder with some information in it, and I'm going to kind of go through that with you. But I did want to let you know right up front here that we've excused Bill Efting from tonight's meeting, but he'll be back with us next week when we plan to really get into the nitty-gritty of this process. But I wanted to just kind of run through the process with you tonight. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me when you need to, and I'll try to be more clear. So I know that you do have the 3-ring binders in front of you. If you turn to the first page of that, I'm just going to run through this process quickly, and I have a few questions and a few points of order that I want to just chat with you about and get some direction on. First of all, you'll see that the first page is the selection process packet, the table of contents. In the contents of the packet, you'll see the recruitment process outline, which is the next page, and we'll go over that a little bit. In there's also the job description, the recruiting brochure that we developed along with the profile, and then some information as it relates to evaluating the resumes and cover letters that you've received that are also in there, and I'll go over those in a minute. But you should have you'll have a resume review exercise description, the resume review dimensions, the resume review scoring sheet, and then the performance ratings description. You also have 12 names there of candidates that are not yet public. Those are folks who have other jobs elsewhere. I want you to really understand that those candidates at this point, their current employers may not know that they've applied. So we'll do the best we can to protect their confidentiality at this point. Also, before I forget, some of them included they were asked to include some references, professional references. Some of them were put in the packet in such a way that they couldn't be easily taken out. It has happened in other processes where board members took it upon themselves to make phone calls to a person's references. I would ask you not to do that. That could cause all kinds of mischief both for them and for the town. So we would have preferred those be on separate pages of paper, and we would have taken those out at this point, but we didn't have that luxury. So they're in there. Please use your best judgment. And even if you know one of those references, please hold back and don't make that call. Okay, so the next page is the recruitment process outline. At the top of the page there, you'll see the check marks. Those are the things that we've already completed. The job description, profile development, position description. We closed the applications this morning. We've responded to each of the candidates that we've received a resume from, thanking them for their application and letting them know what's next. And then Sheila put the resumes together in the 3-ring binder and has distributed them to you.
Jeff, can I point out something real quick? We did
Yeah, of course.
receive 2 applications after the timeline this morning, the 8 o'clock cutoff. I just wanted to disclose that in case anybody had any interest of knowing that we did receive 2 additional ones.
Correct. And they are not included in this 3-ring binder. The one thing I wanted to check with the board on is that we initially planned to meet next Monday, April 15th. And I plan to be there in the room as well as Bill Efting to assist with the process of selecting finalists. I think the one thing I wanted to make sure with all the board members is, are we still on for that date? And do we have a time that you would prefer?
I'm open to whatever that evening.
Yeah, I'm open to that evening, yeah. Do we want to try and start a little bit earlier than a 7 o'clock?
Yeah, I'd rather get going 6-ish anyhow.
5:30, like a work session?
5:30 at the 6 at the latest.
Yeah.
Can we all do 5:30?
Yeah.
5:30, sure.
Okay. Will 5:30 work with you, Jeff?
You bet.
Okay. April 15th at 5:30.
April 15th, 5:30. Okay, so just briefly then, in that meeting, we'll kind of go over the process, and we will determine the number of candidates. We're going to really encourage you to have no more than 5 on the list of what we would consider to be finalists at that point. And at that point, those finalists' names will be public, and we will publicize those as we need to. And then we would set, and we had tentatively also set May 6th and 7th for the candidate assessment. And if you would just confirm that with me tonight as well. At least tentatively, we can move that around if we absolutely need to, but I think that's what we were shooting for. And I think everyone initially said they could make that with one possible exception.
I'm gone that week. Still gone.
What time on May 6th and 7th?
Those would be, the 6th would be an evening exercise, and then it would be pretty much all day on the 7th, Tuesday the 7th.
So when, Mayor Pro Tem, would you be available around that time?
I'm going to be in Canada on a work trip. I fly out on the 5th, and I don't fly back until the 10th. I can do my homework beforehand and
submit questions, comments,
questions,
okay.
comments, concerns. The ratings, I know there's a rating page later in the packet. I'll make sure that work is done prior to departing.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, you'll be here on the 15th though, and that's when that particular rating sheet will be used. The 6th and the 7th will be a whole different, during the 7th, there would be an interview with the Board of Trustees, so you would miss that on the 7th.
Bad for me, perhaps good for them.
Same situation, you could submit your questions.
Yeah.
And we can ask them for you.
That would be great, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, so let's tentatively schedule the 6th and the 7th.
sounds good. And we'll work on times, Mr. Mayor, with you and as we get a little closer.
Okay.
All right, so that day or that evening on Monday, the 6th, we would propose to have a community board and employees meet and greet where it'd be sort of an informal setting with the finalists. They could mingle with members of the community. We would put it out there for the community to come in and meet the candidates, as well as the board and any town of Silt employees that may want to participate in that. They would have an opportunity to hear each candidate introduce themselves, and then also probably answer a question that that a community member might have for them. And Bill Efting will administer that evening's activities. And then the next morning, we would start with our interviews. The first one would be a board of trustees interview. So it'd be exclusively trustees interviewing each candidate. At the same time, they would be moving through that interview process. They would be alternating with a tour, one-on-one tour with the department directors, department heads, and as a group, and hearing from the department directors what was important to them, and then a tour of the town and a quick tour. All in all, maybe about an hour long, and then the directors would have an opportunity then to provide their input to you later that day. And then a lot of towns, and it's I think suggested by in that CML guide that we had sent out earlier, that there, it may be valuable to have a stakeholder interview. So you might have a board of, someone from the school, maybe a merchant or two, neighboring towns, a representative, and so forth. Maybe a board of about 4 to 5 additional people to have an interview with the candidate. This would just provide some additional perspective for you to make a decision. Obviously, the decision is yours to make and yours alone. But there has been some other towns have used a process that included such a stakeholder interview. And I just wanted to put it out there to see if you thought that might be helpful to you all to have that kind of a secondary interview. The way that would work is they would have an interview in a separate room, a different room from where you're having your interviews. And then a representative of that interview board would then report to you at the end of the day as to what they thought of the candidates, and maybe they would rank them for you before you would make your decision.
Yeah, I don't know about the neighboring town, because if they like one of our candidates, they might try to.
But in the role, they're going to be working with the neighboring towns.
Well,
So
that's
to me,
true.
it seems,
Yeah.
I think
I'd
it's
love to see
important.
Dave Reynolds,
it's
for example.
important.
I'd like to see him have an opportunity to ask questions. He's doing the job, so he knows more about it. I think it could influence our decision making. It would
Potentially,
could be good feedback. I think having the chamber involved as well is valuable. The town manager role is evolving to work with these other groups. We might as well have them talk with this person or these people.
These people. Yeah.
To me, it's practical.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that risk that person could apply for a job in a neighboring town anyway. So,
It's pretty, yeah.
I don't think they're going to choose to poach them in the 40-minute conversation they have in a group of people.
No.
So, no, I think it's good to get as many people involved in this process as we can.
Are there other stakeholders that you can think of that we haven't listed there that you think might be important? Maybe not individual people, but or maybe individual people, but I was thinking when I write school, I'm thinking someone from Cactus Valley. But obviously, anybody else that comes to mind that might be helpful.
I think, in my opinion, I think like the fire chief, because the town manager has to work with him on a lot of different ways. I think he'd be a good one. Is my opinion.
Agreed.
No, that's a good one, yeah.
I think it's real important to work because they got to work together on a lot of different things. So,
Yeah.
so it's with being
Anybody else?
with that joint thing, down the road.
Well,
I think it'd be a good one to have.
Will we
Yep.
hear from the department heads as far as their opinion as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. And we'll come up with a methodology for that reporting. It could be a representative of the department heads, or it could be Bill or I making that report for them. We'll just have to work with them to try to understand what they, we've got 5 weeks to nail or more to nail down the particulars of that, Sam, but for sure.
And just for information, while we continue this, we are past our 15 minutes that we
Yeah.
planned for this, but we can continue
Yeah,
the
this is
the
kind of
discussion.
important
So,
though.
yeah.
That's my fault. I always underestimate.
Yeah.
You should know this by now, Mr. Mayor. I
We should
underestimate
have doubled the
amount of
time. Yeah.
that I'm going to talk.
All right.
Anybody else that you might think of in that interview? I guess we don't need to nail that down today. If you have anybody, just shoot me an email and we'll work on that.
Okay.
And then there'll be a candidate assessment review and board decision-making conversation. So we'll have a long conversation about that before you make any, just final decisions on that. Okay, let's turn the page. Let's go to, you'll see the job description in there. And then if you go a few more pages, you'll see the job announcement. And then you'll get to the, after the last page of the announcement material, the colored sheets, you'll see the resume review description. The idea there, it just gives you some instructions on how to review both the cover sheet and the resume. And then I won't spend a lot of time on this, but because I'll encourage you to call me if you have questions on anything on this. The next page is the dimensions. So you'll be rating them. If you go another 2 pages, you'll see the rating form. And across the top of the rating form, you'll see superior, above average, average, below average, and unacceptable. The next page is what the performance ratings actually mean. And then if you go back to the scoring sheet again, you'll see the dimensions that you're scoring are cover letter, resume, experience, education, leadership management potential, ability to articulate knowledge of modern management concepts, and then knowledge of local issues. And those are all explained on the page marked resume, review, dimensions. And I realized I'm going really, really fast now because the mayor has made me self-conscious.
So is there a numerical value for that scoring sheet or
No.
just a mark?
No, you'll, if you note on the resume review description under methodology, the scoring will consist only of placing an X in the appropriate performance rating column. So there's no numbers here. You're rating based on those 5 word ratings: superior, above average, average, etc.
So during the interviews, will we have something like this to use too?
Yes. Yep. It'll look very similar, but it'll have different some different dimensions. Obviously, you won't have a cover letter or resume in there. It'll be more about how they communicate with you, and so on.
Okay.
But if you go to the resume review scoring sheet, that might be the best place to kind of finish up here. So no one is going to see these scoring sheets after you're going to take these home with you, along with the resumes and the cover letters that are marked tabs 1 through 12 in the back of your book. And you're going to sit down with these on your kitchen table, and you're going to go through those materials, and you're going to put the candidate's name in there and your name, and you're going to rate each one of them. Now, I would suggest you use a pencil because, you know, there's nothing that says you can't make adjustments as you go. But you should have some specific reasons in mind and jot them down as to why you rated a candidate in a certain way. So you read a cover letter, you'll see, maybe you rate that cover letter as above average. You're going to put an X in that box, and then you move on to the next box there is resume. You'll do the same with resume, experience, education, etc. So just jot down a note somewhere on that piece of paper and the X, so that when we get together on Monday the 15th, you can talk about why you rated somebody the way you did in a certain way. Like I said, it's okay to make adjustments in the ratings as you go. There's no reason, you're not going to hand these in to others to review. You're going to use these to help all of us, or all of you, come up with a group rating at the end. In fact, you'll note at the very bottom of that page, you'll see group rating. You might have rated somebody as average overall, an overall rating of average. But after your conversation with your peers, you may, as a consensus rating, rate someone above average or maybe below average. That's perfectly fine. You'll have an opportunity to develop that consensus, and then we'll check that box on a big box in front of the room, and it'll make those results at the end of the session very clear, and then that'll help us guide our next steps. Maybe clearer than things are right this second. Are there any questions? Does that make sense?
Yes, it all makes sense, yes.
So spend some time reading those materials from the resume review description with the assignment method and dimensions. The next page is resume review dimensions. It goes into detail about what those dimensions are and explains what they are. And then the next section is the scoring sheet. And the last section is the performance ratings, superior through unacceptable, and explains what those answers would look like. The rest of the 3-ring binder is committed to cover sheets and resumes. And in some cases, probably all cases, they're professional references.
Okay.
So I would encourage you to look that over, and if you have questions, email me. My email address is not changed. jlayman@silt.org. And then I will, I would say, don't email everybody at the same time. Don't email all of your peers on the board. email me one.
He's back. And he's gone. And he's back.
All with sort of a frequently asked questions, if there is such a thing. And if you like, call me on my cell phone. I will answer and I will respond if you have questions. I want to make sure we get this right. It's a big deal to me too. And so please don't hesitate to contact me with questions. Any questions right now that I can answer?
No,
And at the moment, no.
Yep. Not at the moment either.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Yes,
thank you
for
very much
joining
for
us.
all your work.
Thank you. Yeah, see. he
Thank you,
doesn't-
Jerry.
He doesn't
Take care.
work for the town now, and now he's just some shadowy figure on a screen.
He's in the witness
Yeah, what is the
section.
deal with that? Maybe I should have had this over here somewhere. I don't know. There I am. Yeah.
Hey, there you are.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Good night, everybody.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.
So just a quick, two little points at the end of that conversation is one, remember that these names are not public knowledge yet, so
Yes, sir.
keep them confidential. There's a process we want to go through. We want to be fair to everybody that has a chance to apply. And then number two, make sure if we are communicating with Jeff or Bill, it's a point-to-point email, not a group email. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next up is resolution number 17, series 2024, a resolution declaring the town of Silt, Colorado as a non-sanctuary community, setting priorities and expectations in response to immigrant or immigration influx. And I will turn this over to our interim administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a matter that was put on the last Board of Trustees meeting for discussion purposes in response to concerns of what the impacts of an influx in immigrants, primarily illegal immigrants, would have on the town and the town's resources. At that meeting, there was a lively discussion on whether A, we needed to adopt a resolution, B, what would it say, and how we would proceed. I think, and I don't want to speak for the Board of Trustees, I think they can speak for themselves, but really the conclusion in that discussion was the town does not have the resources or the infrastructure in place to address the immigration concerns that many communities are being faced with. And at that time, they directed us to draft a resolution that would declare the town as a non-sanctuary community and basically identify the fact that we don't have the resources to address the needs that these individuals have. But then also, we also included language in the resolution highlighting a couple code provisions that are in the town's code related to public camping, et cetera, to just kind of put on notice that we would continue to enforce the rules and the code as it has been adopted by the town board. With that, Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan was the individual who brought this to the board for discussion. And so I would turn it over to him just to give a little background on the concern that kind of brought it to the forefront.
So to be clear, for me at least, I'm not speaking for anybody else but myself in this sentence, to me this isn't a political, a philosophical, or a moral question. It's a resource question. We saw what another community, Carbondale nearby, had to do due to an unexpected arrival of, I think it was somewhere between 160 and 180 people. They were able to pull it off for 3 months, and they will likely be feeling the repercussions of that fiscally as well as operationally for the balance of the year. I simply don't know. Actually, let me correct that. Silt doesn't have the resources that Carbondale has to deal with that. And I don't know what we would do if that were to happen. So I was doing some research prior to our previous discussion about this. Not saying explicitly, no, we're not a sanctuary community, can actually be interpreted as being an implicit yes. Carbondale did not have a yes or a no. And it was interpreted by that group as being an implicit yes. Again, it's not a judgment, it's just an observation. Silt does not have the resources if something like this happens here. The other thing that's a factor for me is, and we talked about this offline, Sam, is if someone is a citizen of this town and they don't pay their water bill for a certain number of months, we turn it off. How do we justify giving away that same resource for free to someone who isn't a citizen of the town of Silt? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm simply saying I don't know how to reconcile that disparity. But that's the challenge I've been having. Individually, I'd love to provide as much help as I can. I think everybody sitting in this room wants to be helpful. I just don't think we have the resources to do it collectively as a community. And I don't know if it's right for us to impose on the citizenry of Silt to support any number, any large number potentially, of people who show up.
No, I'm in agreement with you. Yeah, we just don't have the resources to do it, and our citizens are first. And in the case that you guys were saying with the water bill, we would definitely help them do payment plan or something. We would definitely help them with their water bill, before we just give that resource away, to somebody who just shows up here.
I said it in the last meeting. We need comprehensive immigration reform. This can't be an ad hoc endeavor. It can't be a patchwork of individual communities making these decisions. It's hard for us as elected officials. It's hard for the police force and fire and emergency services and the utilities. It's hard on the citizenry. And it's hard on anybody who shows up. It doesn't work for anybody. We need comprehensive nationwide immigration reform. Whatever that turns out to be is not going to be decided in this room.
No.
But I just don't know how we act as a substitute for that larger change that needs to happen. And I think the more communities that do it potentially risks delaying the comprehensive reform that needs to happen at a national level. And in effect, we become enablers. That's a larger concern I have.
Okay, so when you're talking about the utility portion of it, how do you mean necessarily? Would we now be creating a policy for citizens and non-citizens for who we would distribute those resources? Or are we just, technically talking about newer immigrants that are coming in here and maybe perhaps tying in with a policy that would probably be addressed to maybe crime related? I don't understand how you mean when it comes for the utility side, but I could see creating policies that would address associated with breaking a code or committing a crime, creating those types of policy. I would be hesitant into like now we start adopting policies that we would ask people here at the town, whether they are legal or not, in order to provide those services. So as long as we are not going into that direction, we don't need to go in a full, deep way of controlling who lives here and whatnot. I think the main issue here is to address the influx of people perhaps that would probably be on the streets committing crime. And as long as we're addressing that way, I think that would be a good way for us to start having that conversation. I agree with being a non-sanctuary. Therefore, we are taking a position, but how far we are willing to go, I think that's a very serious discussion that the board has to have, and we cannot not take the humanitarian side of it. And how far we go with those policies, we really need to be cautious with that.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could hop in for a second.
Yes.
So the concept of a sanctuary city really revolves around whether a community's police department coordinates with ICE, immigration and naturalization service, and is willing to provide notices to them about people who are incarcerated and potentially to hold them over for a period of time until federal authorities have the opportunity to come and interview and take some kind of action on the federal level. What's before you in the resolution, it's a statement of policy. It has no direct effect other than to put persons on notice that the town of Silt will coordinate, well, or has the option of coordinating with federal immigration officials, and that we won't be providing services, to of the types that Carbondale provided. It has nothing to do, I mean, I think the utilities was an example. It wasn't meant to be, it was not meant to indicate that this resolution would have the town asking anybody about their residency or immigration status. And this ordinance doesn't do anything to that effect. The other component of what we were as staff were, I think, tasked with doing was looking at the camping ordinances that the town has. We have tightened those up and we'll be bringing those to you at the next meeting. They needed to be noticed because it's a change to the town code. And so we will be providing you with an opportunity to consider some tightened up camping related rules for the town here at the next meeting. I guess I would just note that as to the camping, there was a case that went to the United States Supreme Court within the last few months on the ability of towns to enact camping bans or camping restrictions. That decision by the Supreme Court has not come out yet. And that may affect our requiring or having the need to do an amendment to the town code once that case has been decided. But for now, we're going to at least make a proposal to tighten up camping related ordinances so that there's not a large influx of people looking to sleep in parks and other public places. But again, I want to make clear that this resolution does not require town staff to ask anybody about their immigration status, and it does not deny things such as utility services to those who come and properly register and pay for those services.
Thank you, Attorney. So my thing is, this discussion has always happened around, we can't handle a large group of migrants showing up here. And I don't think it would even take a large group. I don't think Silt has the capacity to house 5 people. I don't think we need 100 people to show up here. We can't deal with 5 people and set them up in somewhere to live. We don't have those facilities in this town to give people beds. We don't have places to help them with medical care. We don't have places to give them food. Unfortunately, Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan brought this up. We have a larger immigration issue that's nationwide that the 6-7 people on this board are not going to fix. But what we are here as this board is to support our citizens. I was not here for the last meeting, but I am in 100% favor of passing this resolution.
So much.
So last time I said it, this board has always put our citizens first, I felt, from, since I've been on air, with all the decisions we've made with other big topics. And this is a decision to put our citizens first. If an individual wants to come here, rent, buy, own, move into our community, become a citizen here and join our community, please do. You know, we're not gonna give you free water, we're not gonna give you free food, you're gonna earn it, you're gonna pay your bills, you're gonna pay your rent, and that's the way it should be. So when you're giving free things out, you're taking away from the other people that are in that community. I feel that that's how it should be. You should earn your way and join the community legally and become a citizen here in our town. And there's no handout here. You know, there's programs to help lower income families, which please apply if you need to. But as far as, you know, coming here and expecting to get free home or whatever, that's not in line with what we believe in. So I'm 100% for this.
I'm an elected official. What my feelings are really don't matter. We're representing the town people. And I feel that, if we don't pass this, we are doing our town citizens an injustice and the businesses. I think we have to start someplace. Whether this is the answer, like you say, it's a bigger problem, but I think this is a start.
Okay. We did talk that we're going to go ahead and open up this for public comment. Is everyone still on
Yes.
board with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know we had a couple people sign in. Here, wants to want to read their name, and we'll have you please come out to the table, state your name and address, and
We have both Peter and Dawn Hayes
okay.
in the audience that have requested to make a comment. And while they're coming up, I will let the board know that we did receive two contacts from citizens. One was all in favor of declaring that you are not a sanctuary community. The other was basically felt that this was a waste of the board's time.
Okay. And that Sheila gave me the one email that I was going to go ahead and read into the record.
Okay.
Did we have an email for the second?
We did not. It was just a telephone call.
Okay. I will read this email into the record
Okay.
when we're done with public comment.
All right.
All right. So whoever would like to be first, come on up to the table. Or if you guys want to do it together, that's
Together.
okay. All right.
Okay. Peter Hayes, 2032 Chickadee Court.
Don Hayes, 2032 Chickadee Court.
All right.
We're both fully in support of the resolution being a non-sanctuary community. We are 100% for a legal immigrant that's coming into the country. They're more than welcome. I mean, my great-grandparents came in through Ellis Island. We're all immigrants at one time or another, but we came in a legal route. Now, a lot of these are coming in illegally, and that's what we have a huge problem with, because we're throwing all this money out to them, clothing, feeding them, and everything else, when they should have had a way of doing that when they came into this country legally. And the last time I read any of the immigration laws was you actually are supposed to be a benefit to this community and have means of support or family support, whatever. And I could be wrong, but I was under the impression that if you come into this country illegally, that's actually a felony. I could be mistaken. But if that is the case, we're supporting a felony person. And I don't feel we should support any criminals. Okay? So I'm behind, the town, actually stepping up and saying, we don't have any way of helping these people. Because right now, the town just had to double our water fees. Okay? I'm gonna be retiring in a couple of years. I'm looking at all this stuff. It's like, how am I gonna afford retirement and actually go and live and do some of the things you wanna do when you retire? Okay? So giving out these free resources to people coming in that aren't citizens or legally here, to me is a slap in the face, because I paid all these taxes, I'm supporting everything, I'm a productive person in the community. I don't get free clothing, I don't get free food. Okay, so I'm behind you guys 100%. We definitely cannot. We don't have the resources. Okay. You're here legally, that's fantastic. You know, because I'm sure if you went through all that BS you have to at times, you really want to be an American citizen. And great for you guys. We're always in support of the people who want to be here and be part of the community. So.
And I support you as well. I was really happy to read it in the paper that you guys were taking a step to secure Silt, I guess is how I might want to put it. I work hard, we pay our taxes, but we don't have those kind of resources. We don't have the money here. And quite honestly, I get kind of tired of, paying taxes and it's not going to the community sometimes. It's going to help people who came into this country the wrong way. I do support legal immigration. Come to this country legally and do it the right way. But rewarding people for bad behavior shouldn't be something we do. And I don't mean that sound mean or anything, but I work pretty darn hard, and it's a struggle with both of us still working, and we can't get ahead. We want to, we want to retire, and I don't want to have to be paying somebody else's bills to do it. So thank you for taking this step. But it takes a lot of courage, and I think what you guys are doing is great. So again, thank you for supporting the town of Silt.
And thanks for bringing it up without a bunch of citizens coming in and asking for it. That actually took some guts, especially in the political arena everybody's in today, because it's not politically correct.
Yeah.
But actually standing up for your citizens, standing up for the American citizen, I think we should be first, and then what we have left over, maybe we could help somebody. But there's no leftover anymore with where everything's going, so. And you guys did a great job on getting the water plant down some from the initial estimate.
Okay.
So, but thank you.
All right, thank you guys for coming in tonight. Yes.
Thank you.
Would anybody else here in the public like to speak to this agenda item? All right. Just want to check, do we have any hands raised in the meeting?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And then I'll go ahead and read this email then that we received from a citizen. And I don't know if this citizen is a citizen of Silt or not. So it's from Kurt Letzinger. And he stated, why does the town need to declare itself a non-sanctuary city? The town spending time on subjective statements and resolutions is a waste of tax dollars and time. Nowhere does it state in law or statute that the town of Silt is a sanctuary city and liable to assist immigrants if they do not declare otherwise. Not all things in life need a response. Seeing as the board has already made a motion to make a resolution and recommends approval, I see little reason to waste my time showing up to comment as they have already made up their mind.
I would respond that again, Carbondale didn't have a stance. They didn't explicitly say yes or no. And one could argue, maybe not cause and effect, but certainly a correlation that 160 to 180 people showed up. And they had to rally and leverage local, regional, and state level support to provide aid to that large group for 3 months. And they'll feel the impacts of that for far longer than 3 months. I don't know if I can justify doing that to the people of Silt. I'd love to help folks individually. Again, we're all here for that reason. And outside of this, as an individual, I try to help people wherever I can, but I can't commit the community's time and resources to doing that.
I think this is a good statement to put out there, personally. I think this, I would hope this would catch on to all the communities to put this statement out there, you know? There's a right way and there's a wrong way, and we all do it the right way. Well, I mean, why is there a benefit to do it the wrong way? You know? Do it right. Come to this country, and America's a beautiful country. Come here, make a living, feed your family, but do it legally and right. I think that's the statement we're saying.
No, you're right. We did all this, you know, we all did this through hard work and got to where we were for hard work, and nobody, you know, gave us, you know, handed us anything to get to where we are. You know, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Do it the right way. Don't expect to get, you know, something for nothing.
Okay, well, if there's,
Yeah. Is Attorney Sawyer still on the line?
I am.
You might know the answer for this, you might not. Is it accurate that a large number of migrants came in on an asylum visa, and they're basically holding on to the response from immigration, and in the meantime, a lot of them do not have the resources to take care of themselves, but they are coming in legally. However, they are in that interim of waiting for immigration's response, and therefore a lot of them are, you know, like homeless. And is that accurate? Does this have any ground to what I'm saying?
I unfortunately, immigration is not an area that I practice in, and you know, other than little tidbits I've read in the common news, I'm not knowledgeable to provide a response to your question.
Yes, and I'm not prepared to make a statement that that's indeed what happened. You know, just hearsay, and I just wanted to put it out there that this may have been the issue. But I can't not make an affirmation of that, so.
okay. Well, any further comment, or would someone like to make a motion?
No, I would just say that the gentleman who wrote that letter is a town citizen.
He's a citizen? Okay.
Yes.
He didn't put an address on this specific email.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, or I move that the board approve resolution number 17, series 2024, a resolution declaring the town of Silt, Colorado as a non-sanctuary community, setting priorities and expectations in response to immigration influx.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hanrahan, approving resolution number 17, series 2024, a resolution declaring the town of Silt, Colorado as a non-sanctuary community, setting priorities and expectations in response to immigration influx. And that was seconded by Trustee Clausen. All is in favor?
Aye.
All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a second reading of ordinance number 5, series 2024, an ordinance of the town of Silt, Colorado, acting by and through its water and wastewater activity enterprise, designating representatives authorized to coordinate with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment and Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority regarding financial matters. I will turn this over to our administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really a housekeeping matter. With the departure of Administrator Lehman and Public Works Director Fonner, we needed to appoint 2 new individuals to be signatories for the loan paperwork for the water treatment plant. This would be the second reading and would put Town Clerk Sheila McIntyre and Town Treasurer Amy Tucker as those signatories.
Okay. Any discussion? This one is a public hearing, so.
This is pretty simple to me. Somebody's got to sign the check.
Someone's got to sign it, yeah. Okay. The time is then 8:14 p.m. and I will open up the public hearing in regards to ordinance number 5, series 2024. Persons desiring to make a public comment on this agenda item please activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. Or Sheila, any phone calls or emails in regards to this agenda item?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
I do not show any raised hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And would anybody here in the public like to speak to this agenda item? Does not look like it. So the time is 8:15 p.m. and I will close the public hearing and open up to further discussion by the board or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of Ordinance 5, Series 2024, an ordinance by the Town of Silt, Colorado, acting by and through its water and wastewater activity enterprise, designating representatives authorized to coordinate with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment and the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority regarding financial matters.
Second.
Motion by trustee Clausen to approve the second reading of ordinance number 5, series 2024. Seconded by trustee Flores. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, looking at the remainder of the agenda, I don't see things of a particular legal nature, and with your consent, I would drop off the meeting at this point.
Do any board members have any
Nope.
questions?
Have a
later?
fine evening.
All right, yep. You can,
Yep, have a good night.
you and Lawrence may also exit the meeting.
Watch the finals.
Thank you.
All right, you guys have a good evening. Okay, so next up is the 2024 Parks Planning Update, and I will turn this back over to our administrator.
Thank you. This is just a general informational item on what our plans are. If you recall back in 2021, you went through a process to create a park and recreation master plan. We've been updating you annually of what our plans are going forward. We attached a document that shows really what we're planning to do. In 2024, we are going to be installing a kiosk at Stony Ridge Park and Island Park. At Terra Park, we'll be installing a concrete pad under the shelter that is there, and then utilizing some materials that were left over from a 2023 project, installing some fall protection under the playground structure in Terra Park. We've got a basketball goal that we're replacing in Spruce Meadows Park. I think you will recall that we did receive, or we were notified that we received a $900,000 GOCO grant for work at Community Park. There is a rather significant amount of work that we have to do to get to the point where we can actually do improvements in the park, and that includes some significant community outreach, where we will be seeking input from stakeholders in the community, primarily people who use the parks, youth, etc. Then we have to develop 30% plans and then get to 100% plans, at which point we'll be in a position to bid out portions of the project that would be done outside of our public works and park staff. We also would be looking at starting the planning process for Veterans Park in terms of contracting with our consultant that we've used in the past, DHM, to do the park update. That's all planned for 2024. There's one cautionary I would put out there for 25, and it may result in us wanting to shift some priorities a little bit, but we would be doing improvements in both Veterans Park and Community Park under this scenario. And so we would have two of our main parks torn up at the same time, so we may want to rethink exactly how that would work out. But in 2025, we would do the park refurbishment in Community Park. That includes conceptually some pickleball courts, a volleyball court, and updating play structures. Veterans Park, question marks in terms of what we would be doing, because we've got to do the planning this year, but it may include removing the gazebo, maybe a new band shell, and expand the shelter. Camarillo Park, this is a bit of a nebulous one out there in terms of when we're actually going to be able to pull the trigger on this, but we would develop a green space plan that would ultimately end up with a new soccer field and play area. 2026 would be when we do some work in Flying Eagle Park, We actually don't have anything planned for 2027 at this point, but that's a few years out, and I'm sure we'll come up with something along the way. 2028, we would replace the playground equipment in Terra Park. And then we added an unspecified, which would be to find and possibly site a new dog park on this side of the river so that it's a little bit more accessible to people that are just walking and playing with their dogs. There is a couple of other, as we went through kind of the planning process internally of what we needed to do, a couple of other issues that came up is there's one park in particular that we've had some real difficulties with, which is Demelby Park. It is inaccessible much of the time because there's no dedicated parking. We have a very difficult time maintaining that park because if there are vehicles parked in the public, well, the parking spots adjacent to the park, we have no ability to get our equipment in and out of the park. It's also a situation where we've had difficulty having those that have their dogs in the park pick up after themselves. And so when we're cutting grass, it isn't exactly the most pleasant experience for the operator. We have a second park that we discussed as a consideration that if we're going to talk about parks that we may or may not continue to look at, Hairpin Park. I'm not even sure if you guys know where Hairpin Park is, but it is basically inaccessible, and it's basically just open space. The question is, I don't know that Joe, do we do any real maintenance in Hairpin Park?
No, we don't.
And so it may be a situation where we are best served by either turning it back to the adjacent landowners or just recognize that it's going to be a fallow park. One that I didn't put on the list in my memorandum, we've got on the east end of town, we have a park called Gateway Park. It's just a green strip. There are no amenities to that park. I'm not sure that we would want to continue to call it a park. We might want to just say it's a green space or open space and let it be at that there's no expectation that there would be any other services. But with that, there's no action required by the Board of Trustees this evening in terms of any of the park plans, but we would recommend that you send kind of the review of these parks to the Park and Recreation Committee for some additional discussion. I think it would be best to have that discussion and invite some of the stakeholders, especially the homeowners association at the town center condominiums, if I got the name right, or center townhomes,
Yes.
town center. But
I'll respond to either.
Yeah, invite them in because it's a discussion that I think we have to have, not in a vacuum, as we look at what the disposition of the parks are going to be. I did point out that I think if Demelby Park in particular is going to remain a park, that one of two things needs to happen. Two things need to happen. We have to have some dedicated parking. We have to have some dedicated access to the park so that we can get in there. If that's not going to happen, then we probably should be in a position where we're turning that park back over to the homeowners association. But I think that's a discussion for the Park and Recreation Committee in consultation with the homeowners association, especially at town center homes, center townhomes, park, or homeowners association. And so if the board is interested, we'll go ahead and kind of move that into that subcommittee realm and have that discussion.
And then it'll come back to us after the subcommittee, right?
Yes.
Okay, just because something, as important
Right.
as disposing of,
Correct.
town property.
Yeah, I think the discussion would take place at the subcommittee, and then a recommendation would then come back up to this body for approval or rejection.
Okay.
And then I'll recuse
I'm
myself.
part of the committee, Parks and Recreation, so if we're gonna set up a meeting, I don't know who else it is
I always thought it was
Not on
Justin.
Parks and Rec.
Justin was as a backup for me, so is he a full-time Parks and
I
Rec?
think he's full-time.
I always
Yeah.
thought he was full-time.
Let's promote him. He's not here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He is now, if he wasn't.
That's what happens when you don't show up. for a meeting.
Yeah, take
It's because
that.
it's your birthday.
Exactly.
No, he's, okay, we'll
Okay.
set up a meeting.
All right.
And I had one more question. That $900,000 GoCo grant, is there a deadline where it has to be used, or?
March of 2027.
Oh, okay.
So we have some time to plan things out properly and go through the steps necessary to get the feedback, the outreach done.
Okay, nice.
I can also provide you with the list of people on that recreation subcommittee. It was Jeff and Trey, along with Nicole, Andrea, and Justin.
Okay.
So by default,
By default.
it would be
You're on
me.
it and Joe's on it.
Joe would be on it. Nicole still,
Okay.
as far as I know, Nicole hasn't resigned.
I know her light's still on, so yeah.
She said she was going to listen in tonight.
I'm here.
Not resigning, not resigning.
Not resigning. I'm here.
I think with those park and recreation group, it's important to also remind, or to keep Roy Moore in
Oh,
the back of
yes.
our heads. We haven't talked to the school in
In a while, yeah.
a couple of years about it, so it's maybe time to.
That's a conversation I am hoping to have with the superintendent in the next few weeks.
Okay. And I will volunteer to help clean that building out.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Well, I'll help volunteer clean it out too. How's that?
There we go.
You could do a work day, for sure.
For work, yeah.
For the greater good, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of exciting stuff coming up with our parks. A lot of big stuff coming up with parks in the next few years. So. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
On that one? All right. Next up then is administrator and staff reports.
You have a wide variety of staff reports in your packets. Hopefully you had a chance to go through them. I would add one item, and Clerk McIntyre forwarded you an email earlier this evening regarding the West Mountain Region Mixer, which is at the Hotel Colorado this Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. if you want to go rub elbows with other local elected officials. I have no other details beyond that statement. But you do have an email highlighting that. And also, I believe on your, they asked that you have the staff report from Chief Kite.
I have one question, Jim, about the ISP interviews.
Yes.
Is there an ETA on that decision?
I do not have one. I need to follow up with them because it seems to have gone in a black hole and I'm just not sure where it went after that.
And I have some details that I was supposed to have sent them to Dave Reynolds, and I have not yet done so. Should I send them to you instead of him, you and him?
Why don't you send it to both and carbon me? Or send it to Dave and carbon me, not
Both, yep. Got it. Yeah, just looking through some of the criteria that they had, I had some more details because I'm a nerd during daylight hours.
Somebody's got to teach us how to work all this stuff.
Yeah, there are some gaps in the proposal and what they're asking for from these prospective ISPs. So I want to try
Okay.
and fill some of those in and make sure that we're not just doing right by the citizens economically, but functionally as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board to staff? Okay. Next item on the agenda then is update.
Oh, sorry. I had one question. I was noticing on Public Works report that Joe Lundine's title is Public Works Director. Is that, are you the real thing, or?
No, I just copied that from Trey's.
Oh,
so we can
okay.
Get this report done.
Okay, I just
Interim, I guess, is
Interim.
what that should say.
Anyway, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just, if
That's
you
all
were,
right,
I'd say
Chris. That's why I'm
congratulations,
here.
but.
And I guess I do have one question for Joe also. How is the boring project going?
The boring project is going slow.
Okay.
They're hand tunneling there. Friday, they were averaging 5 foot a day.
Okay.
So, but they're proceeding, and
I noticed they keep putting the boring machine in the hole and then taking the boring machine back out of the hole. So
that's when they do that when they got welding a stick up new casing.
New casing, okay.
Shoving casing in there.
Okay.
Every time you see that, they're done with 20 feet of pipe, so you know they're getting ready to put another 20 feet.
Okay.
It's not that they're trying again to do it mechanically and going, nope, didn't work today.
They go in there with their little trolley and hand shovel and trolley it out, so it's taking some time.
Taking some time. Okay. All right.
I had a question for you too, Joe. The alley behind, I think it's La Pasita 1.
Oh, behind Old Tim Tolls?
Yeah, it's been, they finished putting it back and it was super sloppy and muddy, and then now it's just closed.
Yeah, that is on the schedule to be paved the end of April, the end of this month. So you should see a crew over there hopefully next week. They have one service to put in, and then a prep for asphalt.
Cool.
Okay. And then I have one for Nicole, if she's still with us, is just an update on the dollar store.
Yes, sir. They had their tenant finish CO inspection last week, and they are working on those corrections. And then the shell has a couple more drainage issues that they're working on, but they're hoping to have their grand opening April 19th is the date that they're shooting for. So as soon as they call for re-inspects, we'll get back out there to see what we can make happen.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Nicole, can you tell the folks here about the info you shared with P&Z last week about the Easter event?
I can. We had a very fun, successful Easter egg hunt. Despite the chilly weather, we actually had a great attendance. I'm not a very good estimator, but Chief was saying he thought there was probably around 500 at the event.
I was like,
And we had face painting, pictures with the Easter Bunny, and then we had 2 4-H groups that brought out their animals for a petting zoo. So overall, it went really well. Everybody seemed to respond great to our additions that we added this year. So we'll just continue to grow our events and add additional things to bring more people out.
I like it.
Yeah, I was very impressed when I heard those numbers. I was like, wow, and props to Nicole and team for pulling it off yet again.
Definitely a team effort. It's fun though.
Okay. Update from the board and board comments. Just posted.
I just want to show some appreciation for Joe and Jim for coming in and filling in such crucial positions for the town of Silt, and the entire staff, of course, as well as acknowledge the work of the board and how everybody here expressed themselves and really work well together, even when we have different opinions. And we are all here together to work for our citizens. So just want to show appreciation on that today.
Thank you.
Police too.
Yeah, well, that's well put. I'll ditto that. That was good.
Okay. Anything else? Just that? All right.
Yeah, just that.
Trustee Clausen.
I had a question for the PD, which I should have done it at the last segment. But yes, it's in regards to dogs, because the newsletter with our packet says that dogs may be on trails or sidewalks within parks as long as they're on a leash. But on the town newsletter, it says dogs are not allowed within the boundaries of any Silt parks or off any trail within the town. And so I'm just wondering, are we just making our own rules up, or is there a reason for that? And my issue was, you can't really say they're not allowed in parks because up 7th Street, it's a busy street. Where are you going to walk? You have to walk your dog on the path. So I just don't want citizens in the way of speeding cars.
I am not exactly sure what came out in the newsletter but right now we're running off town code. We are cleaning up that code because it's been outdated.
Yeah.
Mike, could you step up to the microphone? We can't hear you.
Sorry.
Please, thank you.
Right now, I'm not sure what was in the newsletter. I'm not part of putting that together, but we are working on town code cleaning it up because we've got a couple different variations in there.
Yes.
If someone's walking their dog on the path, as of right now, no heartache. It's the ones that are running in the parks, people not cleaning up after themselves. That's why we're contacting people.
Okay, yes. Again, that is a big issue with the dog waste in the parks, so.
Dogs are a huge issue in Silt. Always have been. And I'm not saying we've got bad pet owners, not saying we got bad dogs. It just we deal a lot with them. Dealt with a couple aggressive dogs today. They dealt with a dog attack on a lady over the weekend. This is something that we're constantly working with and tweaking the code as need be for the safety of the citizens.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I was just, because yes, it is 2 different ways. It's written down 2 different ways in the code, and then I saw that in the newsletter, and it's like, well, wait a minute, now we have 3 different reasonings, and yeah, I was going to say, yes, the ordinance needs to be cleaned up, and
we are cleaning up the code to merge all of them together to where it works for everybody.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief Kite. And then, yeah, my only other comment is, and this is, to all the citizens out there that are listening, I've noticed a lot of towns' right-of-ways and alleys and stuff like that, have semi-trucks and boats and trailers and stuff like that. This is not free storage for the citizens. There are sewer lines underneath that or irrigation lines, and if the town needs access to them in a hurry, they need to be able to get there. They don't need to be tracking down people to move your semi-truck to get it out of the alley. So, and on all of the town's rights of ways, and I see vehicles that don't have plates on them, trailers that don't have plates on them, in the town's right of ways. So I'm just asking all the citizens, to help clean up the town and make the town look better and, get your crap out of our alleys. And that's all I have.
All right. Trustee Seifert.
I just want to, I said right here, big letters, Silt Police will enforce dog and leash. I seen it firsthand today. Mike was running from 16th Street down to 7th Street, back up and around getting stray dogs today. He was chasing them down. So I want to thank him for that. That's really been helpful because that has been a problem. So that's all I got.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a brief acknowledgement and thanks to Rob Doty. He resigned from his commission seat on planning and zoning last week due to moving away. Sad to see him go. Super engaged in the community, smart, and had a lot of experience that I think was valuable for planning and zoning. But just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to him for his time and his efforts serving the community of Silt. And if you know someone that has an interest in joining P&Z, now's the time. That's it.
That's it. Okay. I only got one thing to address. Just it's basically been stated out on Facebook that our new interim town administrators came in and changed the hours of town hall. I just want the public to know that that was a discussion that happened way before he was our interim town manager, and it was actually this board that made the direction to change those hours. It has nothing to do with Mr. Mann coming into this position. So if you have questions or comments about that, the board would be the people to talk to, or our town administrator, and he can straighten it out for you. Other than that, I've got, I want to thank this board. Tough conversation tonight, but I think it shows that we're aligned on what our goal is, and it's the citizens of this town. So, with that being said, the next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adjourn. Oops.
Second?
All right. Motion by trustee Seifert to adjourn the meeting, seconded by trustee Poston. All is in favor?
Aye.
All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right.
Nice.
Everybody have a good